Hi everyone. So I'd like to walk you through the making of my image Maiden's Majestic. I'm going to be using the 10 principles that I talked about that go into the art of a great portrait. While we watch this, don't mind some of the footage as it was taken by my 11-year-old son who had play on the mind. So let's begin with the first principle. First and foremost, as artists, we always need to be inspired, and in today's day, there is inspiration around us everywhere. In the case of this, one day I was scrolling through Instagram and came across this image. I follow a lot of photographers. This image impacted me right away. I loved the overall feel of it, the soft posing. I loved the color harmony, the juxtaposition between the dark and the light, and their beautiful hair, how it was flowing. My mind started reeling at all the ideas that I had to do something that was similar to this type of image. So start the planning. Again, in my head, I wanted to make this my own. I loved certain elements of that, but I knew I wanted to bring in my own elements as well. So first and foremost, I wanted to have 3 women. I wanted to incorporate an orangey copper color because I love that color. I have 3 girls in mind that I've used for past sessions before, keeping in mind their hair coloring and such. Then I started to think about their dresses and the wardrobe and the styling. Lucky for me, I know how to sew. So I hit the local fabric store and bought all of my fabrics and started to make my dresses. So I created 3 different dresses, very similar to the ones in my inspiration pick, but a little bit of my own twist. I had the girls get their hair done and come to me. We got dressed. We had a lot of fun. I incorporated feathers in their hair that actually didn't make the final cut. But again, I had the perfect girls, the perfect outfit. Now I needed the perfect location. I knew right away that the perfect location was going to be outdoors. I wanted there to be a lot of natural elements around me, wispy tall grasses. I also chose my 200mm lens so to ensure that I could have a very shallow depth of field and have a really soft background. Let there be light. So probably one of the most important things in any photography, whatever you're shooting, is great light. For me, it's sunset. I love to have my images, my portrait images, backlit, and I love to shoot at sunset for the most flattering, warm light. So that was important to me here. If you don't believe me, just have a listen how excited I actually am about great light.
The sun is like, look at the sun, it's perfect.
Okay, let's talk posing. Posing is also extremely important when you are shooting people and portraits. What really sets apart professionals with amateurs in my eyes. I take a ton of time working with my clients to educate them on how I want them to pose. Every element, right from the tips of their toes to the top of their head, how tall they're sitting, how their hands are posed. I get right in their face and I talk to them one-on-one and say, do this, do that. This looks great. Yes, I love that. I also try to hone in on what they do naturally because you want them to look natural because otherwise it won't look natural in the camera. So if they happen to organically go into a certain pose and it's working for me, I'm like, yes, do that. You look great like that. So again, taking a lot of time and paying a lot of attention to little details in the posing. Personal connection is so important, and it's something that has to be done with whether you're shooting a client or a creative session like this before you even get to the set. You need to start building relationships with them. If it's children, you need to find a level where you can connect with them, and you want your subjects to also be connected. A lot of times families already are connected, but you need to make sure they're connected and you need to connect with them as the photographer by constantly talking with them, helping them along, making sure they're in good hands and showing that you're the professional. Listen how I talk my clients through every part of the session here.
Chin resting on her. Put your chin more on Ireland and Michaela. Can you put your arms back like that in the front, from your front shoulder? And even though you're leaning forward, head out, just put your knees to sweep like that.
So as you can see, following the 10 principles of the art of a great portrait, everything is perfect. The girls are perfect. They're beautiful. Their hair, their outfits, the location, the light, the sun. What could go wrong, right? Well, apparently a lot, because when I got home and looked at the pictures, I was absolutely disappointed. Here's why. So here is one example. I have the horizon line cutting right through their head. That super bright background is just lost all detail, nothing in the background. The girl in the middle looks a little squashed, a little bit awkwardly posed. That's about it for that one. For this one, they look frumpy. The grass in the front is completely cutting off their dresses. They're getting totally lost and cut off at the waist. This was probably the only image where I thought, maybe I can do something with this one. So I went to Photoshop, spent hours and hours, and ended up creating this. This was something I felt might be competition worthy. I put it into a regional competition. It scored only an accepted after a judge brought it down from a merit, pointing out some flaws. And to be honest, I agreed. I wasn't happy with it. And I put so much into this that I wasn't about to settle for it not being perfect, the perfect vision I had in my head. So this is where point number 10 comes in, where you need to learn from your mistakes and go back and fix things and do it differently next time. So that's what I did. I kind of went back to the drawing table and started to look at each of the poses group by group and picking out what I really didn't like in each of those poses. I also reached out, did an SOS to one of my fellow PPOC members who is a longtime member and really good at posing, specifically with hand posing. So we had a Zoom meeting. I brought up some of the images and her and I just talked through some ideas on how we could make it better for next time. So the first thing I did was change the location. I went back to a tried and trusted favorite path of mine in the park and shot here. In the end, I got a reel of images that I loved. They were so much better. So looking back at my original image straight out of camera and critiquing it for all the things that bothered me. If I was to start from bottom up, I would say the grass first and foremost is cutting through their dresses. The posing is all very frumpy. They look kind of stout. The hand posing is all clumped in the middle. The girl in the brown on the camera left is missing fingers. We have no necks, just altogether very frumpy. The girl again in the brown has very frizzy hair. We have the hair skyline cutting right through her head, and then I have a completely blown out skyline that definitely needed a lot of work. Now let's fast forward to take 2 in my favorite pathway of the same girls, same outfits, different posing, refined. So as you can see right away, much improvement on their posing, their hand posing in particular, and definitely that background is a lot less distracting with having nothing cutting off in their head and no real bright spots. I still have a really beautiful backlit halo around them, which is ultimately what I always go for, but altogether much better and way more refined and much better connection between them. So now that I was happy, I was able to take this image into Photoshop to work some of my magic. Which gets us here to the perfect image for me, exactly hitting the mark on the vision that I had and making my heart scream in happiness. I absolutely love this. I love the impact of the image as soon as you look at it. I love the storytelling. I want to know more about these maidens. I love the basic design fundamentals that are here when it comes to the color harmony, when it comes to the balance of the image with those trees perfectly framing them, giving them great composition. A lot of people don't like center aligned images, but I happen to love them, and I think it really, really works here. Definitely a beautiful flow in both the color scheme in addition to their dresses, right from camera left right onto the right, with both their hand posing, their hair, their dresses. Everything about this is what I wanted. Okay, so now moving to the technical merit. I feel like this is really technically sound. A few things really going for it is the subjects are tack sharp. They are separated from the background. I got that help from my lens choice of the 200 millimeter, shooting it at 2.0, which really gives us that milky background. There's no distracting elements that are poking into their heads. We have a really nice rim light again that's separating them. Technically, the way it's edited really just fits the mood. It fits the color harmony. And I just feel like technically everything was paid so close attention that it really just all came together. I'm so thrilled in the end of how this image turned out and really proud that all of my efforts paid off and it did so well at both the regional, national, and then even the World Cup. So persistence pays off on this one. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process of the Maiden's Majestic.